everyone, this is Amy. Welcome to my channel. I appreciate you taking the time to stop by and view my video. I am going to show you another floral design on a green glass wine bottle. I've washed this with soap and water and I've already gone over it with rubbing alcohol to clean it off. Today I'm going to be using 3 Amagic flat brushes. I will provide a affiliate link down below so that if you want to make a purchase, you're welcome to do so. I'm using a number, I think this is a 6, a 10, and a 12. And then I'm using my fine liner Westonia brush. Alright, now all of my designs, and I like to try to make sure that people understand this, that all of my designs are actually meant to be very simple and great for beginners. Glass is great to start painting on because if you make a mistake, all you have to do is wash it off. Not a big deal. The paint I'm using today is FolkArt paint. That's what I normally use. Combination of multi-surface and enamels. This is Thicket, Forest Moss, Licorice, Yellow Ochre, Burnt Sienna, Tea Berry, and Wicker White. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to begin, I'm just painting on the front of the bottle, and this is just for the purpose of the video. I do paint all the way around. Now I'm just going to load my brush with some of the Wicker White and the Tea Berry, which I think is a very pretty color. And I like to try to get your bristles about 3/4 of the way full. Again, I'm not real picky about loading the brush. I know some people are really funny about that, but I just kind of do it as I go and keep adding to it as well. Alright, so this stroke that I'm using is going to be one that I'm doing a lot of just quick back and forth movement. The only concern I have with doing that on glass is that a lot of times when you wiggle, you can bring up the paint. So you just have to be careful with that. A lot of times techniques that you use on paper don't work so well on the glass. Alright, so let's go ahead and keep going here. I'm going to go like this on here and turn my brush and go like that. Now I can add more, but I'm not going to worry too much about that because I'm going to be adding leaves and such, so it should be fine. Alright, so again, I'm just putting it down and I'm just wiggling it, coming back. And then I can go like this. You can also go over it if you feel like it's not opaque enough, because having it opaque will give you better coverage, more durability. So that's one of the reasons why I like to talk about that in my videos, because it does help. You know, when you do painted glass, it's not necessarily permanent per se, because it can scratch. You have to really be careful with it. I can come over here and go down like that. I'll probably go back over these here in a second. And you don't have to add this part on that I'm adding if you don't want to. You can leave it off for sure. Alright, so we're going to go over here and I'm going to go down, up and down, and add the white. I'm going to come back over here a little bit, add that up there. And then I'm going to come in here, do another layer. Again, I have to be careful I don't raise the paint up. And I'm going to leave it like this for a second because I'm going to have to come back into it. Now when I did my design on my paper, I actually created a pretty big design, which is obviously not going to fit on this glass. And I can come over here like this, come in there a little bit. I'll just come over this one, pull it up and down. There we go. I just want to keep making sure that I'm not going to touch my painted area on this paper. That makes me a little nervous. Nervous. Like I said, just pretty easy, just a lot of wiggling. A lot of wiggling and jiggling. You can be a little bit more relaxed with the petals. They don't all have to be perfect by any means. Like that. I keep sticking to the paper. Whoops. Alright, and we're going to do one more over here. I just want to get it nice and coated. Now before you bake your glass, you should really allow it to sit for about an hour or so before you bake it. And I'm going to come back over that here in a minute. Alright, so I went ahead and hit this with the heat gun, and I did a second coat over the flowers. Now I'm going, and I forgot to mention this brush, which is a number 2 Deerfoot Stippler. I'm going to dip it into licorice and then go ahead and tap in some centers here. And this will allow me some time before I do like another layer of florals or leaves or petals, whatever, over some of the flowers, but I want to put the center in first, giving me a chance to establish that part, and then, like I said, on some of these I just want to be able to go ahead and put another layer of petals and go from there with it. Alright, so I'm going to go back to this brush, still using it, and what I'm doing on this one, and I gotta be very careful not to touch, I'm going to go ahead and put just a real light layer of just like another layer of flower petal like that. But I just want to touch it just very gently. When you do a second coat, you really do just have to be very careful with it, because you'll pull up the paint underneath when you're, if you do any pressure on it at all. So you do have to be careful. And then on this one, down here, I want to come out here like this, and I'm going to come up over it a little bit and then come in here. Now because I didn't dry it, it had pulled a little bit of black in there, which that's fine. Alright, so then what I'm going to do, I just gave it a little bit of a dry time with my heat gun, and then I'm just lightly just kind of tapping on it and putting in the next coat, because if I do it too hard, like I mentioned, you're going to end up pulling up the paint. So you just have to be real careful with it to avoid that. If you don't have a heat gun or a hair dryer, you could just let it air dry for a little bit and then come back over it. That's up to you. Alright, the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to wait a little bit on finishing the centers, but I'm going to go ahead and start with my next brush, and this would be the 10, and I'm going to be just using a mixture of paint for the leaves and the vines, but I'm basically going to be starting with these two, and then I'll be tipping in this, tipping in some white, and then, you know, just I'm going to just keep going and keep mixing it as I go. Like I said, I'm not really conventional when it comes to how I do my loading of my brush. So I'm sorry, but it's about how I do it. And so I'm just going to make it look like these are all coming in here and my vine comes out here. I don't have to put a stem on it. I could just do my leaves around it, but for the purpose of the video and on this bottle, I'm going to do it like this. Alright, so then I just want to start with some very long leaves, and I will again keep touching my brush into the paint, adding some other colors, varying the colors a little bit, but I want it to just be lots of leaves, long leaves. It's almost like it's, I don't know how to say it. I like leaves, so sorry if you don't, because leaves are probably one of my favorite things to paint. And if you don't like this many leaves, you know, please feel free to alter the design. My designs are just meant to give you an idea of what can be done. Definitely not something you have to do. Obviously, it's this again is just supposed to be a lot of leaves. I don't want to do too much over here. I don't want to cover up my pretty flowers too much. They definitely will be covered up some. And that's one of the things with doing you know, on a smaller surface than your paper. You don't have as much room to create as you do on paper. But I think you get the gist. It's pretty. And you can see that I do have a combination, probably about 4 colors in my leaves right now. Alright, so then I'm going to start doing just some wiggle leaves in here. And I want to make them have a little bit more white so they stand out more. Or I can go lead with that. Up to you, whichever one you like. Or I can have even a, the more of the olive look to it. Let me go over it again. Like that. Okay, I'm going to lead in here with the olive and browns. See where else I want these. A few more of these. Actually, I'm going to try to hold it up and do it. I just don't want that mistake again. And then let me do one of these here. So just kind of create as you go. I do, like I said, mentioned I do my samples, but I don't necessarily follow it 100%. I might do them and then just gets me going. And just come through and just put little stems in if you want. If you don't, you don't need to. It already has one in it. And this one needs to be a little bit darker. My furnace finally shut off, yay. Let me just tell them, just touching, not doing it too much because it will pull the paint up. So you can, you know, go back over these if you think that they're not opaque enough. For the most part, though, I think the leaves are pretty good. I'm just trying to make sure I get them all. Alright, so let's do a few more of these wiggles and then we'll be done. Well, actually not, we won't be done because I have another color I want to introduce in here. Put another one up here. And on these, if you don't want to put a stem down through the center of it, you don't have to. And they're pretty enough, I think, without doing it. Doing fancy moves on glass is a little bit more difficult just because those moves can raise the paint off, causing you to have a hole in your design. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead right now and flip over to one of these are kind of like accent flowers or leaves that I'm doing. Again, I'm not real specific, particular, whatever with my loading of my brush. I just want different colors in it. That's basically what I'm doing. And smaller. So I can do like some of these just to kind of give just a more of an accent look. If you don't like these, then don't add them. I want that to cover it up some. And just doing little stems in them. I'll just do a few of these just in, I guess, around a little bit. It just gives some more interest to your design. And also, because you're adding more layers of paint, that can help with making it more opaque. I just want to get this to be a little bit darker, a little bit more opaque, so I might throw some white in there. White's a great color to mix with your paint. It has a lot of pigment to it, so it helps with those areas that are hard to cover. I don't want to give it too much because then it'll not show up or show up too much. Like I've been overworking it. And I kind of like the mixtures of colors, like the little streaks. Now you can also on these do my little wrigglies. Just kind of, Yeah, I don't know on that one if I want to do that so much. Just give it some little vines, little, whatever you want to call them. Okay, let's do some, let's shoot for some down here. And again, you just put your little stems. And you can go over these again too if they're too light, just so that they're durable and that they don't come off easy. Alright, let me do maybe one more spot and then we'll be done with this part. Put a few. Now I'm having a hard time figuring out where I want them. It's down here. You could do that with a liner brush too if you want. Alright, one more thing and then we'll be finished. I'm going to take my liner brush, I'm going to dip it into my white, and then I'm just going to come in here, again I'm trying very hard not to, I'm just going to do some basic line work around the center. And do that, I could do it up here too, just a smidge. Can't see the whole bottom, but that's okay. I'm just basically tapping it and pulling it. I don't want them to be solid lines. My intention is to be doing it exactly the way I'm doing it. The broken lines. And then one more down here. Excuse me. Again, I'm trying not to touch. And I'm going to go in here and just do a few little lines. It's real easy. So it doesn't look like we forgot them. Now, what you could do with this brush is maybe tap into, just to give it some color, just tap in and add just a little some white. You don't have to do this. I mean, this is just kind of an impromptu. Give it a little bit. You could do it with a brush or, you know, a dotting stylus if you wanted. Put it under there like that. And did I have another one? I don't think I did. Alright, so there you go. Here we are, we're finished. I hope you like this video. I think this turned out really well. If you do, make sure you give me a big thumbs up. New to my channel, make sure you subscribe, hit that notification bell, and before you leave, if you would share this on your social network with all your family and friends. Pretty easy, just hit that share button underneath the video and all you have to do is send it wherever it is you select. Alright, until the next time, please stay safe and healthy and have a good one.